Hey, what's up, peeps? You're listening to the Let Loose with Lou podcast. I'm a full time working woman, mother of three, and a wifey to one lucky man. My passion is getting to know people, listening to their stories, and learning from their points of view on life. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy it. Hi, it's Lou with Let Loose with Lou. Hi, guys. Hope you guys have had a fabulous week. And gee, where did October go? It's completely gone, right? It's like the end of October, but by the time you see it, it'll probably be the beginning of November. But here we are today. My co host Eddie is out for the day, but he will be back. Eddie, hi. I miss you. but I want to go ahead and introduce my guest. I have my great friend Rhonda. Hi, Rhonda.
Hi, Lou. Thanks for having me.
Of course, my dear. And I have my good friend Anthony.
Hello.
Anthony.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's just my pleasure, honestly.
Glad we crossed
Um,
paths the other day.
yes.
Yes.
And I have my cousin Yoli right over here next to me.
Hi.
She's my little ride and die today.
Thank you for the invite.
Of course. Thank you for making it.
Welcome.
Oh my goodness, it's been a hectic day today. Whatever could have happened to me happened. Like it was one of those days. But today's subject is on grieving when we lose loved ones. And actually, I wasn't supposed to have this episode today, and it just happened that it turned out right. And I didn't realize it until I looked at the calendar and I was like, oh my God, like Halloween is here. Well, on Halloween was the last day that my dad was actually standing, breathing, speaking to us.
Wow.
Wow.
That night was the last time we ever saw him walk on his own, speak, eat on his own. The day after, on November 1st, he had a stroke, heart attack.
What year was that?
That year, oh my God, let me think. That must have been, 2018. It was
Okay.
right before COVID hit.
Okay.
Yes, it was right before. We didn't even know about COVID, right?
Right.
We had no
Nope.
idea. I mean, we don't know. He had a stroke. Afterwards, he got sick. We don't know what it was. He just got worse. But after that, COVID just hit like crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
it was.
remember going and visiting him at the hospital, and he wasn't really speaking, and he didn't look the same. But it was hard for us.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
really hard, and it's a really touchy subject for me because he was everything to me,
Yeah.
as our parents are,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, with this said, Rhonda, may I ask you about your experience with grief?
That's been a tough one for me. I know we've been friends for a while
I
going through that.
Yes,
So
yes.
my mom died unexpectedly in '05, and ooh, still gets me. Feels still like yesterday,
Yes.
but I'm gonna say I was thinking about this when we were talking, and I thought, our parents teach us how to grieve. My mom
Mhm.
never taught me how to grieve. Like she always hid it. So when she died, it was shocking and almost like it like stopped me in my tracks. It paralyzed me
Mhm.
where I just did not even know what to do with myself from her death because it was so sudden and unexpected
Mhm.
that yeah, it just shook me to the core.
Ah, and I think that's the hardest part. I think our parent generation were that way.
Yeah.
My dad, being from World War II, he never showed emotions. My dad lost four sons, his mother, his father, and four
Mhm.
sons, and a brother.
Wow.
Well, actually, a younger brother when they were young, two brothers in between, and a sister. But he never showed grief, like never cried, never showed any kind of emotions.
Mhm.
So we grew up tough.
Right?
And
Yes.
even when my dad passed, I went to work every single day. Like I was like so numb, like
Mhm.
numb.
Right.
But so if you don't mind me asking, what did your mom, did they ever find out what she passed
Yeah,
of?
she had like a heart attack, but it was from COPD because she smoked.
Okay.
So she
Yes.
just couldn't get enough oxygen, and she was like, my son had broke his clavicle that day. She was rushing to meet us at the hospital, and went home to get her inhaler,
Mhm.
and just ended up trying to do a breathing treatment. Just could not get enough air, and like fell over right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that's kind of scary
Yeah.
because those treatments, like my son has breathing problems. He was a twin. I lost the girl. He made it, but he had a lot of lung problems.
Mhm.
So until now, these days, I still freak out. Like
Yeah.
if he, he gets like this bronchiolitis, like where he can't breathe, and I freak out. Like I can't even sleep because I'm afraid that if he doesn't have enough oxygen, that could happen.
Mhm. It
You know,
can.
because I don't know if his lungs are still fully developed or not, but
Right.
it could happen to adults. It could happen to a child.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, so I get freaked out about that.
Oh yeah.
It's something that needs to be probably more aware of, right?
Mhm.
I feel like they should be aware of some of that because nowadays people have breathing problems like crazy. We have
A lot of
pollution,
things going on with the
Yep.
emissions and everything in the air.
and they're trying to turn everything electric, which is kind of scarier, right? But that's a whole
Yeah.
different subject. That's a whole
True.
different subject. So how have you gotten through the grieving? What has helped? What
At first, did nothing. Like I kind of shut down, and I
Mhm.
wish, like I look back now where I am now, all these years later, and I wish somebody would have pulled me out of it. But I did, I just shut down for like 5 months out of the year. I would like not go to work every year for like many years. And then when I married my husband, he's like, yeah, we're not doing this. You're not shutting the world out for 5 months, Rhonda. Your mom wouldn't want this. You need to get up in. But so I started like finding self help,
Mhm.
walking, journaling. I've seeked out therapy,
Yeah.
healthy options
I
to,
do therapy. Yes.
yeah,
Good.
Yes.
because I felt like I just wasn't getting it. Like I just wasn't getting it. Like I was so angry,
That's yes.
angry and sad. I felt like my son got cheated from his grandmother. Like I'm a grandma, and I can't imagine not being in my grandbaby's lives. So I feel like we were cheated. She
Mhm.
died at I'm 52. She died at 57. Well, 58. That's young.
That's
Yes.
so young.
Yeah.
It's so young.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
feel cheated. Like,
totally. And you ask yourself why,
mhm.
Um, yes, she was super young. My dad was 94. He died 5 days shy to become turning 95. Yes, which he had a great life,
Mhm.
but as it's crazy, and I just it's the weirdest thing that I don't know if it was just me, but I never thought my dad would die. Like
We
I
and we get in that mindset,
Mhm.
and we think, especially when we're younger, our parents are going to be there forever. Our dads are the
yes,
strongest people in the world,
Mhm.
and
yes.
you never think about that until you start to become older, and then you start to see
Yep.
things happening around you. Some of us experience grief and death younger.
Mhm.
Some of us, later on in life.
Yep.
Yes.
I think we experienced that too. Like as a teenager, a lot of my friends died car accidents or things
Yes.
different
Mhm.
from losing a parent.
Oh,
Like it
completely,
affected me. Like I was sad.
Yes.
completely different.
But when I lost my mom, like that was the
Oh.
close. I mean, my friends were close, but like that was
Yes.
close to my core.
Mm-hmm.
That it was a whole completely
Right.
different loss. Like it shook me to my core.
Yeah, like it's hard to explain. Like
Mhm.
I had someone tell me like, he lived a good life and I was just like like I felt like that knife just hit me because I was like, I don't care if he was 150. Like
Yeah.
that's my dad.
Mhm.
That's my everything. Like what? Like I was so shook,
Yes.
and I thought, did I ever think he was going to die? That never crossed my mind.
No.
Mhm.
No.
Never.
No.
Like, did you think your dad would have ever passed?
Well, I actually didn't want to think about it because, my dad raised 11 kids,
Wow.
and then knowing that, when he got sick, he had dementia, so that's what took his life. Um, you don't see it like that. Not even when they're sick and they're laying there, you can't even imagine them being gone. My dad was a very strong man, but like you said, your dad was everything. You talked to your dad and shared things with your dad, and um, more than you do your mom sometimes. But they're your parents. You have to really,
Mhm.
um, be there for them even when they're older. You're gonna do whatever. They took care of us when we were
Mhm.
babies, and now it's our turn to take care of them. But yeah, my dad passed away in 2014,
Oh,
7 years ago.
yes.
Okay.
A
7 years.
couple of years before. So our dads were first cousins.
Okay.
Wow.
Yes. And I think it was different. Our grievings were different, similar but different because you actually had the process, right, of grieving because you knew at one point it was going to happen because he gradually, right?
Yes.
He gradually got to that point. Um, where with me, it was like we were at my house on Halloween and he used to love giving candies to the
Aw.
kids and love seeing all the costumes to my sister calling me like, dad had a heart attack. Like, and I was like, wait, what? I had just gotten out of work and I was just like,
Mm.
what are you talking about? Like, not dad. And it's
Mhm.
like, oh my God. And I called her and I was freaking out because I was like, how did this happen?
Yeah. She called me because of what I went through, and
Yes.
you know, she's like, "Oh, it's my turn," and I go, "It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay." So in my opinion, is when a person first passes away, the first year is denial, and
Mhm.
I believe the second year is the hardest.
Mhm.
Because you think that that person is gonna come back, but they don't.
Right.
And
Mhm.
then when the holidays come, and we all go through the same process, and um, the songs and just the memories and the friends that come by, and
Yeah.
it's I didn't work for many years, and I told myself, in order for me not to feel the grief, I have to get a job, which
Mhm.
I did. And I got a job and I started working, and it made me feel better.
Right.
And but then after my cousin went and
Oh, yeah.
through it, I knew that I had to be there for her to lift her up, because I know, even though she had a job and was working, and I just told her to keep herself busy.
Mhm.
It's hard because not only because losing a father, trying to deal with the siblings, and um, trying to help them, grieve as well. Not just think about ourselves.
Right. And
That part right there.
yep, I was just
Yeah.
yep.
Because
That
as we get older, one or two things are going to happen to you. Your mind's going to betray you, or your body.
Yes.
Mhm.
One of those. I mean, it's inevitable. Father time is undefeated,
yeah.
Yes.
and like we said, we never thought about losing our parents or loved ones, and that day
Mhm.
comes. Um, Sometimes unexpectedly, sometimes folks may be dealing with an illness that doesn't make it any easier.
No.
And
Mm-mm.
then you kind of think, like, what's harder, losing someone like that just died from a tragic accident, or
Correct.
Mhm.
losing someone that's taking a long process of cancer, and then
Right.
finally a month later that person passed.
Right.
I mean, I know, losing someone, it's hard, but like, what's harder, someone that passed all of a sudden, or
It's difficult either way.
it's difficult either way, right?
I agree.
It's
I think sometimes when you see the suffering too, it's just like,
yeah.
I don't know. Because I
It's
watched it with my mother-in-law, the suffering.
oh,
Yes.
And so I've had kind of a little bit
a
of
little bit
experience.
of both of
Yes.
experience.
Yeah, because she lived with us for 9 years, a year after we got married, and then to watch her get sick and have to be
Yes.
her caretaker at home, and then I don't know which. I think there's just no comparison. They're both
It's
tragic.
they're both tragic.
Mhm.
I had a brother that passed away from a car accident. And I was fairly young, but it was a shocker, right? But
Mhm.
we learned to once again my dad didn't show any grieving, so we all had to stay strong. So it was kind of like a blur because it's like, okay, well, here's the steps. This is what you go through. This is what happens. And, versus one of my other brothers who, had medical issues and I seen him pass away, went through it all. And that was hard.
Yes.
That was hard. And grieving is grieving and sometimes we don't know, we don't have an outlet, and it's so sad that we don't at that moment we don't know where to look. And I remember walking at the hall one day and I was numb. Like I was just like done. But I still got up, did what I had to do because I couldn't be home.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I need to go to work. And I went to the hall and I'm walking like straight in there like a ghost. And Anthony came to me.
Yes, I remember that.
Do you? Would you
Yes.
like to?
Yes. That was, I believe, had I lost my parents
You
before?
had. Yes.
That was 4 years ago.
Okay.
My father passed. Wasn't, he just had some normal issues, diabetes and whatnot, but he'd taken ill and he was in the hospital. And strong man, raised in the South. You know how so many people run around and say, "Oh, I'm this way because my parents didn't tell me they loved me," or my dad never told me that, but he showed me.
That's my dad.
He showed me. He didn't have to tell me. He showed me every day when he got up and he went to work and he provided for us. So he passed, and then 2 weeks later, 16 days later, my mom passed.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
That's-
16 days
And
apart?
then
Wow.
to
Heartbreak.
add insult to injury, she died the night before my dad's funeral.
Wow.
oh,
And so my mom was in a nursing home for rehabilitation purposes. She'd had a heart attack about a year and a half prior. And so we had put her there to build up her strength and whatnot. And so she was set to come home the day of my dad's funeral. And she
Mm.
passed the night before.
Oh.
So nothing in life prepares you to lose one, let alone two.
back to back on top.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was at work. I was actually working and my father was in the hospital and I got the call from my sister, "Hey, you may want to get up here." And so I hurried up on down the freeway and got there. And I don't know, 15, 20 minutes later, and we've got to make a choice.
Mm.
He's
Wow.
Mm.
it was selfish of us to want him here, but we needed to let him go. And it was difficult to say the least. And then to speak with my mother and let her know what happened because she was in the nursing home and I've got 3 other siblings and said, "Mom, you're going to be okay. You have us." And she says, "Son, you don't understand. I'm 76. I've been with your father since I was 14.
Mm.
I don't know another
That-
human being."
Wow.
So fast forward, and I had saw that Lou had lost her dad, and that morning she was walking through the hall, and you could see you kind of knew what was going on with someone, and you're kind of oblivious to what's going on around you. You're just looking
Zone.
straight ahead, and I saw her and just went straight over to her because I knew what she was going through. And we discussed this the other
We
day,
did.
how maybe prior to you losing your mom or you losing your father, um, you may have had friends that have lost parents, but at the time you hadn't lost yours. So you really didn't know what it was like. You felt bad for your friends, but you
Exactly.
really didn't know what it was like. But then when you lose a loved
The
one,
parent, yes.
it hits home. And so when someone loses a parent, you know that feeling.
It's a different feeling.
And
It is.
It is.
that morning when I saw Lou, I knew what she was going through. And there's really not much you can say. All you can do is just be there,
Yes. Yes.
hug somebody, hold them, tell them it's going to be all right.
Yeah.
And we discussed this the other day.
We did.
You never get over it.
Ever.
You
Grief,
get through it.
yeah, grief never goes away. The
You get through
the
it.
pain does get lighter, but grief will stay there for the rest of your life.
It
Yeah.
does, and that's the hard part. Like, and so how have with this? How have you coped with it, Rhonda?
I don't know that I have.
No.
I still think that I struggle. Some days are still really hard.
Yes. Yes.
And we spoke about this too.
Yes.
Events
Yes.
make it hard. Like when my granddaughter was born, that was tough
Yes.
because I was like, I wish she could be here to
Right,
see her
right,
great granddaughter be born. We have 3 grandkids now, so to see all 3 of them, and what she's missing out on. And when I got married, like my father was never in my life, so when he passed, I felt sad for my siblings and for my stepmom and my son. I didn't really feel a loss because I didn't feel a loss. That's the truth.
And it's okay because
But with my mom, it was tough.
yeah.
And the day I got married, that's all I could think about, like how proud she would be, and I wish she was here.
And she was proud.
I know,
Yes.
and she was, but like
Yes.
physically,
Yes.
to be able to be here and to see how far I've come in life and where I've ended up and who I ended up marrying.
Yes.
And I
and
mean,
who
this
you
is my childhood
become,
friend.
yes.
We were friends since we were 10 years old.
Mm.
And yeah, so I'm like, those moments make it hard
Yes.
wanting. And no matter what type of relationship you have, like my mom and I had a very interesting relationship, but you still want those moments.
Totally. Yes. I agree.
She was a single mom, so I know why we had the relationship we had.
Yes.
but
yes.
still, like, you wish she was there for those moments.
Of course, especially because a mother and daughter, that's something precious to us. Our, as much as we fight with our girls, this is with the girls. I don't know about dads.
I have a
and-
daughter.
Yes.
I have a daughter, but completely different. Dads
Yes.
and daughters are different.
Yes. And for me, I was a daddy's girl.
Mm.
My dad was everything.
Yes.
And you were a daddy's girl too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mom, like I said, my mom had 9 boys and 2 girls, and I was the youngest girl.
Wow.
I was number 10, and it was a good, happy, not perfect family, but
Yes.
we all loved each other till this day. And I mean, it's tough. I know the part of grieving because I've lost 2 husbands, and all my kids were young, and from the age of 19, 11, and I was only 38 years old when I became a widow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Young.
So it was tough, but
That is
God
tough.
put me through this, and it's a day by day thing, and
Yeah. And
was-
some days are better than others, huh?
Uh,
And
yeah.
some days are
That's
not.
what I was telling Lou.
I want to see.
You
Yes.
you have good days and not so good days. I don't have bad days.
Right.
Not so good days.
yes,
And we have triggers.
Yes.
We have things that trigger us. 2 weeks ago, driving down the street, and this song comes on the radio by the Intruders. I always love my mama.
Oh.
I pulled over to the side of the road, and I was bawling for 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And things just trigger you.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
yes,
And after about 15 minutes, I felt like a 500-pound gorilla had been lifted off my back.
Right. And
Take a
it's
deep
weird
breath.
when we were talking about this. Oh,
No. Took a deep breath and, okay,
Yeah.
let's go on with the rest of the day.
and you have to let it
Yes.
out. You
And
have
that
to cry
happens.
and just sit
Yes.
there. And when I would go visit my husband, I would just sit there and just cry for 15, 20 minutes. Like, okay, now I could drive. Sometimes we just have to do that. And it's good also to keep busy with people that are going to lift you up. Good
Yes.
friends,
I was trying to
You know,
find this
not-
quote that I saw.
not
Yes,
negative or
yes.
not, bad influence. People that are going to lift you up.
And
Yes.
that's what this is about, because I want people to know that there is people that grieve, there is people that feel, there is people that can help you, because at one moment I thought I was lost. Like, even though you were so helpful and you were there for me, I still, we're still numb,
Mm-hmm.
but I could vividly remember Anthony, and that was what I needed. I
Yep.
didn't want to hear I was sorry. I didn't want to hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
Just know you're going to be okay.
Right.
You know, you're going to be okay.
It was a quick
Yeah.
30, 45 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you've
And
gone through it, so you
yes.
know. And
Yes.
when you
Yes.
go through it, when you see that person, or you just let them talk, and I'm here to listen.
Right.
Yeah.
That part
And
right there.
That's what it's all about.
Yes, and it's hard, It's really hard. And his words were so soothing, and I felt like God, like he lost both parents.
Mm.
He told me his story, and I was just like, oh my God, like
16 days apart. That's wild.
Yes.
crazy.
That's crazy, Anthony.
Yes.
crazy.
16 days apart. My father was, excuse me, he was 81. He died a month before his 82nd birthday. And just to see, like I said, we all grieve differently. I've got siblings. My oldest sister, she took it very hard because she's in the medical industry. And so she was seeing my parents on a daily basis. And
Mm-hmm.
she would go over to the house. I would go over a few days a week, but she was, bathing my parents and
Mhm.
caring for them. So
Nursing them.
when they transitioned, it hit her very hard. It hit all of us hard,
Yes.
but it hit her especially hard. And so it was just a matter of me being there for her to just listen,
Yes.
comfort,
Mhm.
soothe. And like I said, we all grieve differently.
And I think depending on where you are in the situation when you're
Yes.
grieving, like if
Mhm.
you're having to deal with all the odds and ends of the person passing, you don't get that chance to grieve right away.
No,
Mm.
no.
And are people telling you it's going to get better? I don't ever think it gets better.
I don't think so
I think
either.
you learn to live differently. And it was weird. Right after you said, you called me and asked me, this shows up in Facebook, lovely Facebook, right? It says, grief is like an ocean. It comes on in waves, ebbing and flowing. Sometimes the water is calm. Sometimes it is overwhelming. All we can do is learn to swim.
True.
And
So
I
true.
thought, man, that sits deep with me because I've just learned to swim differently.
It's going with the current, not against it.
Mm-hmm.
And build new memories with your
Yep.
granddaughter, and
Yeah.
teaching
But
her about your mom and
yes.
what she taught you to build new memories.
Right.
You know,
And
simple
there's things like I'll ask my friends, like my mom would never teach us to cook.
Mm.
She didn't let us in the kitchen. She cooked because she was a single mom, so she wanted to get it done so she could
Yes.
relax.
Yes. Yes.
Never wrote her recipes down. So like now I'm trying to,
Recapture all her dishes.
yeah, but it's, a lot of them, they're hard to get, but like finding new dishes
Yes.
to create that my grandkids
Yes.
like so that I could pass that down to them.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So
yes.
that they at least have something, because there are some childhood recipes from my grandmother and my mother that we
Yeah.
will never see again.
Yes.
They're gone because all of our relatives are gone.
Yeah.
So I know that's like, I think, an important thing, like my mother-in-law, her cookie recipe, she always tweaks it a little bit different for whoever she's giving
Yeah.
the recipe to, but her recipe, she made the best chocolate chip cookies, and I have the recipe.
Yummy.
Do it with your
Something I want to
granddaughter.
share
Yeah.
with my
Pass
grandkids.
it on.
That's
you
beautiful.
know?
Yes.
So
And those are always good during the holidays.
yes.
And kids, I only have 2 grandchildren. My oldest is 14 and my granddaughter is 4 years old. And I hardly see her as much as I wish I could. But, especially during the holidays, you want the grandchildren. My grandson's older, teenage boys, they don't want to be around you. They're
Right.
just in
Right.
moods, But you're so lucky because you have grandchildren, You have she has all babies. Do you have any
That's 7.
grandchildren, Anthony?
7.
No grandchildren.
See,
Not yet.
Yes.
My daughter doesn't like kids.
Oh.
For
Yeah.
now.
No, I have a 9-year-old.
She likes kids. She just
Yeah.
doesn't want
Right.
any of her
Right.
own.
Yeah. That part.
Yeah,
That part.
Yeah, we have two girls, a 9-year-old and an
They're so
8-year-old, and then
precious.
a 3-year-old little boy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they're like, I remember when my 9-year-old, when she was first born, and I was thinking, man, this is what it must have felt like for my mom, like when my son was born,
Yes.
Then when I had the second grandbaby, I was like, this must have been what it felt, like I
Yes.
got to be in the room with that one.
Ah.
Like the first one, she had C-section, so we couldn't be in the room. But the second one, we all got, both the grandparents got to,
Yes.
all 4 of us grandparents
Oh,
got to be in the
beautiful.
room, and that was an amazing thing to see. And then when my goddaughter gave birth to her son, I got to be in the room.
Oh,
And I watched her be born.
yeah,
So it was like
it's
this really,
beautiful. Yes,
and I
that's
thought this is
meaningful.
exactly what my mom must have felt when my son was born.
Yeah.
So I try to hold on to that
To that
cherish, and it
memory.
kind of heals a little bit,
Yes,
you
yes.
know.
Yeah.
Like my mother got to see my daughter born,
Mhm.
and my daughter could never do no wrong in my mom's
Same,
eyes.
my
You
son,
know,
same
yeah,
way.
yeah. And it's, so it's nice that she has that, memory. For me, like my youngest son, he started playing football, and my dad would go watch him.
Mm.
Yeah.
Your dad
So,
was there for everything.
oh yeah, he was
You and
good.
your sister, yeah.
That's
it was-
awesome.
But
You with your little ones, that
I
was
have
hard.
7 grandbabies
Mhm.
from
Wow.
5 months to 7 years old, and I wish my husband was here to see all his grandbabies. And then he had prior kids, so he has grandbabies with his older children. Um, it's hard seeing my grandbabies without their grandfather, even though
Mhm.
they teach them who their grandfather is.
Yes.
Show them pictures, their name, his name, and memories. Because my kids have great memories of going fishing, camping, and
Mm.
Yeah, he
different
was a
things.
really good dad.
Yeah, he was a very
He
good
really
dad.
was.
That's
Yes,
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
and
Were they young when he passed, your kids?
my youngest son was 11, and
Wow.
he's going to be 27,
Okay.
Wow.
and
It's a tough age for a boy to lose.
Yeah.
And
their
she
dad.
raised them all
Mhm.
on her own.
Mm.
2
Yeah.
boys, 3 girls.
I'm very close to my kids, and I my grandbabies are my life, and that's
Yeah.
what I do. And I bake at home. I teach my grandbabies, little things here and there. So
Mhm.
when you open up my cupboards, you see all my recipes in there,
Aw.
Yeah, she's so
and
cute. She's so creative.
I take pictures of my grandbabies, rolling
The
the
dough or
dough and stuff. So
oh.
I have pictures of them and just have memories and just,
And so they'll have those memories. My mom didn't take pictures because she felt from being sick, like
and
she kind of didn't
Mhm.
look the same. She wouldn't take pictures. And it's kind of like a little sad story. Before they had iCloud,
Mm-hmm.
my son had his phone, the very last picture of her before she passed.
mm,
And they didn't save it. I mean, back then in the 2000s,
Yes.
early 2000s, he ended up getting stung by a bee and fell in a pool.
Oh,
And it's not funny, but it's
yes.
like now but the last picture he had of her was in that phone and we lost it.
Wow.
mm,
And I tried everything like calling Verizon, like, is there any way, like we've come so far with technology.
Yes,
thank God.
we
Try
But
to
just
retrieve
keep.
it.
yeah, but we
Yes.
couldn't retrieve the picture and it was on Christmas. And I sit and think like no matter what I look like, some days it's important that I take pictures with my grandbabies.
Yes, it's absolutely.
Skinny, fat, whatever, because
She's so cute.
Wow.
that's like my truth though, but like
Yes.
I just think it's so important because I look and I don't have pictures of my mom because she wouldn't take pictures.
I take a lot of pictures, memories,
And that when you said
videos.
that, isn't that like the truth? They'll always have those memories with you and those pictures, and
Yeah.
that's a healing thing.
That
You know
is.
what I just did with my mom? I went and took some paint and canvas, and so I have her stamp her hands on the canvas, and then
Oh.
she's signing on the bottom, and I put the date.
How
So
cool is
I have
that?
to pass that out to all my brothers and my sister, and
Yes.
my mom's she's at the end of her.
Hmm.
You
My
know,
poor auntie.
we're taking care of her right now, but
That's tough.
yes.
That's why I say I don't know which one,
Yeah.
like when you say like if it's sudden or long, you know, I don't know that it's any easier either
Yeah, we
way.
just take it day by day, and
Mhm.
it's God's will, whatever happens, and you know, I could go tomorrow. We just don't know the day or time.
Right. We
But
don't.
Do you
Yeah.
ever find yourself, and I called my sister and talked to my sister about this. I hear my dad's voice. I'll be at home doing something and I'll have some clothes in the dryer and I'll take the clothes out of the dryer and throw them on the bed. And then I go to walk away. And I hear this voice in the back of my head saying, those clothes aren't going to fold themselves up. So I go back and I fold the clothes up. And it happens No, no lie. This happens to me like quite often. So I called my sister and I said, you know what? This is how I know I listened as a kid when dad spoke, because now I'll be doing things around the house, and
Mhm.
instead of just leaving it there, I'll hear this voice saying, "Hey, hey son, that trash isn't going to take itself out."
Right.
Oh,
And I think that's part of grieving
Mhm.
yes.
for me, because I still hear those voices. I still hear
Yeah.
hear my mother speaking to me. My mother, we used to say she was like a pit bull with no teeth. She would bark and growl, and the tail would be
Yeah.
wagging, but
Oh.
she was completely harmless. But as we grieve, I found out what works best for me probably is looking at my parents when they were healthy and vibrant,
Mhm.
The
as
good
opposed
memories. Yeah.
to when I saw them in their last days. That's not something that I want to take with
Remember.
me. And even when I attend funerals now, I don't really want to go up and view that person, because that's not the last
Yeah.
visual that
Memory
I
that
want of
you
them.
want them
I
to.
still can't do it.
No.
Funerals.
Ay,
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that's
I
we were
still
just
really,
discussing.
yeah.
Think about it. Yeah, we're at that
we
age
were
now.
just discussing this
We
right before this,
we
right?
we
Yeah.
go to more funerals now than we do weddings.
Weddings and
I still have a
parties.
hard time,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you, a lot of times I'm MIA because
Yeah, it's
my grief still cannot handle the graveyard.
Yeah. Even when 2020 happened during the pandemic, so many losses with friends and
Mhm.
family, we all felt the pain,
Mhm.
not as strong, but we felt the pain when someone would post, "Oh, I lost my mom,"
Mhm.
and it's like, wow, um, I don't want this virus to take my mom. And,
Right.
even though she got it and I was with her when she had it, well, the first time it was very hard for me. My life was, oh, it was horrible. But the second time I got it with my mom, she had it, and then I went to go stay with her, and I said, well, if I get it, I have to take care of my mom.
Mhm.
So I went and took care of my mom, which I got it, and I just stood there taking care of her. Just hearing all these people on Facebook talking how they lost so many people, we're like, wow, this world is what's going to happen to us. But
Mhm.
we all went through it, and we just all lifted each other up. And we're still going through it. Thing is not over.
Besides the world getting crazy, I think a lot more people became kinder.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
I
Exactly.
mean, I still see a lot of crazy things that have happened, but I feel like COVID really kind of brought
Humble
kindness
people. Yes.
It
out of people when dealing with death.
it brought people to reality,
Mhm.
because when everything was shut down and you couldn't do your normal day-to-day routine,
Mm-hmm.
and you had to learn how to communicate with people. You had to
Mhm.
pick up the phone and call people. I remember going to a funeral service well before COVID, and the pastor saying, the family's here now. They've lost loved ones. Everyone's here to pay their respects.
Mm.
But check on the family a month from now, 6 months from now, because that's when they're really going to need you. A
Yeah.
year from now, and to this day, I
Good for
still do
you.
that. I'll just call someone out of the blue. I'm just calling to check on you, see how you're doing.
Yeah.
We
Because
cross
we
paths.
forget
Yes,
about
And a lot
people.
of people don't.
Right
Yes.
after the funeral, people think, "Oh, they just moved on," but we haven't.
and they're still going through it. We're still going through it, and
Yes.
you see people, and anytime we see each other,
Mm-hmm.
how you doing? You
Mhm.
good? And it's just you just want that acknowledgement.
And it
It's
feels so good and
yes,
reassuring,
yes,
because unless you go through it,
Mhm.
nobody will
no,
understand.
no,
Mm-mm.
no.
No.
They don't,
And
and
sometimes the depression gets inside where you think, I can't get up and just move. And it's like, where's
Mhm.
that person that was there for me? Why
Right.
aren't they're not there anymore?
Mhm.
Did I say something? Why did I lose my friends? Or did I do something wrong?
Yeah.
I just want to talk. I just want to go out to lunch.
Yeah.
Let's, do something. But
And I'm grateful because the girls that I have become close with
Mhm.
from work,
yes.
the few, like, they really have they know, like, they'll invite me, and I'm really bad about backing out because I get stuck in that little I've become, like, socially anxious since my mom died. I can go to work and I could talk like this, but put me out and I can't do it, like, come to the Halloween party, Rhonda, come and do this. And I just cannot still, since my mom died, find myself to do it. I just can't bring myself to get there. I don't know why. Even traveling, it's really hard for me. Like, my head takes that, like, what if
Yeah.
something happens? I need to be there for my grandma. Like, I still go there, like, because that death really shook me,
Yes.
because she never taught me how to grieve until she died. And then I had to learn on my own how to grieve.
That's
Yeah.
hard. For us, learning how to grieve is hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard.
Yeah. And I'd really try to teach my kids and like when my mother-in-law died, to tell my grandchildren, because they were very close with her. It shook them. But I thought, like, this is probably what my mom should have done with us when my grandma, like, taught us about grief, because then we could process it. I didn't process real, true death. I mean, like, your parent is a true death for you.
Yeah.
Not that your friends don't matter.
No,
They
but
do.
it's a different. It's
Completely
like
different.
it's your life.
Yes.
It's your heart. It's
Exactly.
everything. Like,
The only person that knows you 100%. That's what I could say. Like, my
Exactly.
mom, no one knows me like my mom. No one knows my story like my mom knows my
Right.
story.
yes.
My daughter hasn't, since my parents passed, she has not been to my parents' graveside. And I don't force her or say, you need to come with me. I'll call her, hey, Taylor, you know what? I'm going to go down here and see Nana and Pop. You want to go with me? And I give her the option, but she cannot bring herself to it, because she's lost a lot of grandparents and uncles, and they've all passed usually right around the time of her birthday.
Oh.
So, like, you get socially anxious, like you were just talking
Yeah.
about. When her birthday comes around, she starts,
We act a kind of
Feeling
way.
like-
Withdrawing.
you know,
Yes.
what's going to happen now? Because in the past, this is what's happened.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
she's not there yet. But like I said, we all grieve differently. And as you were just saying, when that moment hits you, you just kind of not
Yeah.
welcome it, but you just take it on and you just
I
deal
know.
with it.
My dad died on St. Patrick's Day, March
Aw.
the 17th. And so when I go visit his gravesite, I go and decorate it, all green. I wear green and used to love green beer.
Yeah. He's so funny.
But
He was great.
we all go through different things, but
It's hard when it's the
Just-
holidays.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
and Halloween was like our favorite, because we live in the neighborhood where all the kids come and they're dressed and it's just
Yeah.
so festive. And I start to clam up. Like, the girls are like, "Oh, it's Halloween, let's do it." And I'm just like, I don't want to do anything. And I'm like, oh, I gotta like learn to like let go, but I can't still. I
Right.
can't.
That the first holiday that we had for us was Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving was tough without my folks. And then Christmas was really difficult because that was my mom's favorite.
Mm.
You go by the house and she was hanging Christmas lights, even though she shouldn't have been up there. It's like,
Yeah.
Mom, what are you doing? So when Christmas would come around, and it's
Mhm.
still, and to this day, I still kind of close the blinds and just get in a little shell. And
Yeah.
it's, like I said, some days are better than others.
Yeah. Anthony, I can relate to that. I put up a palm tree. I didn't want a Christmas tree anymore after my mom died. I didn't. I put up a palm tree, and and for years,
Yeah.
since my son, and then when I married Rich, he was like, "We need a traditional tree." I was all, "I can't do it. I couldn't but he did it, and it felt better, a little bit, a little bit."
I'm laughing because that happened to me. My dad died December. What was it? The 12th, I believe. 11th. The 11th. I can't even remember. His birthday's on the 16th, close to Christmas. I didn't want no Christmas. I
Right.
loved Christmas too. I didn't want no Christmas, and I was so adamant about putting a tree. I was so mad. So my husband's like, "We're getting a tree. The boys, need a tree." And I was like, "Well, then you go and you get it.
Right.
Yeah.
You leave me alone. I don't want nothing. I don't want to decorate. I don't want anything."
Yeah.
So he's like, "Get in the car. We're gonna go get a tree."
Yeah.
So we ended up getting an artificial tree, right? And we go to
Yeah.
Target, and I'm like, I'm not getting out of the car, because I was so upset. I was hurt,
You were
Yeah.
grieving.
Yes.
You were grieving.
So I'm like looking like this at the window, and I'm just like, I'm angry, right? Because I'm going through my emotions. And he walks in. He's like, I'm just gonna go. I'm like, I don't care. So I was like, why did I even come? I'm like, I don't even want to be here. And I see like a silhouette of my dad through the window, and I was like, Dad. I was like, oh my God, like,
Mhm.
but it wasn't him, and it was weird because it was like
You have those
It
moments.
was your sign. Yep. I still like smelling smoke. My mom was a smoker. I still smell smoke to this day. I'm like, and no one smokes in my home. Like none of us are smokers.
Those
and
are
it's
signs.
weird to me because I'm like, can you guys smell that? They're like, no. I'm like, I smell cigarettes. I smell it, and I feel like it's her.
Yes, those are your signs. Do you
Mhm.
ever get any signs?
Well, yeah. Like I said, when the
Yeah.
clothes, just when I'm going to put things off.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say maybe about a year after my mom had passed, I was in Target and I'm walking down the aisle. It was first thing in the morning. I saw this woman. She was on the aisle and she went the next aisle over. And I looked and I just saw her from the back. She looked just like my mom. My mom was this tall woman. And so I pushed my cart down and rolled up on her. And I had to tell her, I told her the story. And I said, you resembled my mother. And I just had to tell you that. And this woman didn't know me from a can of paint. Gave me a big hug
Mm.
and said, God bless you, be on your way. And it was just, we have those moments. You go through life, like you said, you thought you saw your dad through the window and things happen. And that's how we talked about being religious and being
Oh,
spiritual.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you just feel certain things and they're still there.
Agree.
But it's some days are better than others.
Ugh, we keep telling ourselves that. It's been pretty hard. And I admire you because you losing your husband. We've lost brothers and your dad, and you're there with your mom, and so grieving hasn't really end for you.
Yeah, it was hard. My mom lost. I lost a brother. Excuse me, when he was 19 years old.
Mhm.
So someone took his life, but
The grieving is different
the
when we're
grieving is
younger,
different.
right?
Yes.
Because
Um,
I don't think we realize at that time what's going on.
I was 7 years old. My brother
Yeah.
passed away, but I just know the stories from hearing it from my brothers.
Mm-hmm.
But when my husband passed away, I didn't sleep in the room for 6 months. I slept on the couch.
Yep.
Just didn't want to be in there and try to rearrange everything to look different. Didn't work out. Didn't even want to put my clothes away. I had a mountain of clothes on top of my bed. But
Yeah.
it was tough, but I had to do what I had to do for my kids.
Mm-hmm.
Just kept,
And
That's tough.
and that's the thing, rather, you're a man or woman, being strong and being there for your loved ones. Um, I never saw my father show emotion. I never saw my father cry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it just came up at a different time when it was raised in the 70s and the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just different. And now, I'm probably like a big crybaby. And my daughter will look at me like you're such a candy apple.
You're delicious.
But it's just
You
I,
sweet.
I thank you. I think it's good to show emotion.
Yes. I agree.
And you just try to be strong when you can.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I think holding things in and letting them fester can actually be detrimental.
Yeah, it is.
Totally.
Yeah.
I agree.
You
'Cause
have to go to counseling. I went for counseling for 2 years. In the
Mhm.
beginning.
oh yeah, I had to go to counseling. I still go to counseling. 'Cause
Right.
grieving was hard. I didn't know how to let go of those emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
And
not
then
only that, you got to think of, my children and just
Right.
not myself.
Mm-hmm.
I have to think what they're going through, their feelings and their lives. And,
We don't realize it's like with my son. Like I knew he was hurting, like you're saying, but I think I was so consumed with my mom's death, like I couldn't even really. I was there for him to the as much as I could be,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which was not, fair to him.
Yeah.
Looking at it now, like he missed. You can't rewind,
No.
but I wish I could have had someone to teach me to pull out differently then. Like you got to get up, Rhonda. You got to be there for I was there for him. I mean,
No.
but
no. Yeah.
not to the extent that I wish I could have been for
Yes.
him, like to help his emotions.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose of this episode is for those out there that are grieving, going through it, there is hope. There is help.
Mhm.
We go through it. We all go through this.
Talk to someone.
Talk to somebody, anybody, pick up the phone. It's just so sad.
It
It's
is.
no one should have to go through it alone
Mm.
or, feel like they're not understood because it's an emotion and it's like a wave, like you said, and it comes and it goes.
Yeah.
I go to work sometimes and I bawl out all the way to work because I have a song that comes up.
Right.
And I'm like, damn it, I got to go to work. I cannot go in looking like this. I'm like, oh my God. And then I run into Anthony and I'm like,
So I'll just text her saying, I love you because I have a picture of her dad and my dad at the date they passed. So I'll call her in December or text her, I love you, so she knows what I mean. 'cause I know
Yes.
she's going through something.
and vice versa.
And
We're
that's
always-
important.
Yeah.
It's like my
Yes.
girls did the same thing. Like they knew I couldn't get out of me, but they never let, they
Yes.
did the best that they could. Like they
Yes.
tried to be there, but I just couldn't do
It's
it.
hard.
Lou.
Yeah, it's hard.
And thank God for that. Those little texts matter.
They
You know
do.
what I mean?
Oh,
Seriously.
we'll make
Yoli.
time for lunch or dinner and
Mhm.
just talk. And
That part right there, making time.
Yes.
There's a difference in making time and having time because I feel like as we go through life, having time, we waste a lot of time when you have it.
because we're
Mhm.
so busy.
Yes.
The unplanned time.
Yes. Or how about like this? I was
Yeah.
like, oh, can I just not go? Like, why did I say, I told my daughter, why did I say yes?
Because it helps talking
It-
about it.
Well, now
right?
that I'm
Yes.
here, I'm okay. But I
Yes.
mean, that whole social anxiety thing.
Yes,
Like, I'm going to go
yes.
talk. What am I? I don't want to talk about this. It's going to bring up all that. And I did. I wanted to cancel. Like, it was like 5:30. I was still laying in bed. Like, I have to go.
It's like pulling
Thank God
that
you live
scab
close.
off.
I'm close. Yes.
like
You
pulling that
reopening
scab
my
off.
wound.
Yeah.
Well,
Anthony,
it's
exactly.
like this drink right here. Okay, if you have the top and you shake it and you don't release the pressure, what's going to happen when
It's
you
going to
do?
explode.
It's going to explode.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
true.
we have to, let it out little by little, not
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
much.
So when you called, I was just like,
yeah,
at first I'm like, yeah, okay, Lou, yeah, I'll do this. But then I was like, after I hung up, I was like, why?
Oh,
Why did I do that to myself? Why do I want to open this wound again? But I'm
Yes.
glad that I did come.
No, yeah, and it's gonna help others. Hopefully, there is someone watching this that needs that help. That could, reach out to me, you, us, anybody, anyone,
Yeah.
because it's real, and people fall into depression. And I was in depression. I actually was depressed for so long, and
Mhm.
you would have never known because I'm always cracking jokes or being funny and
Right.
always smiling. But I go home and I just want to lock myself in my closet and just like in the dark and stay there.
You were internalizing things,
yeah.
and that can be unhealthy.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
very
It is.
unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yes, it
See,
is.
this is my shutdown time. Thanksgiving was her favorite. She
Yeah.
passed in
Right.
March 10th. So usually I would go off work like the third week of right before Thanksgiving. I would go off of work and not go back to work until April 1st.
Mhm.
I would just stay home, and I'm good with it, staying in my bed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
me too.
Like I'll get up, cook, do whatever I have to do,
Mhm.
clean. But I'm okay with staying at home. That's how much it affected my life that I didn't leave.
And it does. It affects us all really hard in
Mhm.
many ways,
Mhm.
And sometimes you don't want to be strong anymore.
Yeah, you have your moments.
Yep.
And I by me having that part of my husband's life with the memories of my kids and my grandkids, I also stay close to my mother-in-law
Oh, nice.
and his sisters and his daughter, his son,
Nice.
and invite them over for Thanksgiving and just talk about our memories.
And that's healthy because that's more people to kind of that you can kind of reach out to and
Yeah.
share things with. And so, yeah, that's good.
Because a lot of people usually, stay
Push
away
people.
from
Yes,
their family, but
after.
I don't.
Yeah.
I'm really close
It
to
is
the family.
important.
It
And you know
is.
what else I think is cool, Anthony? I want to just say this because you know what? Men don't get enough credit. I
They
think it's really
don't.
cool that you came and
I know.
got to share with
Thank
us.
you,
You know what?
When-
Because men
You're
are
so
supposed to
awesome.
be this,
They're
you
so
know,
stronger.
hard.
yeah.
Human.
Stronger.
But no, that's
Thank
where
you.
we are today. I think that's really such a blessing for all of
Thank
us
you.
to be touched by you on that.
It is, and
Mhm.
I love you so much. For
When
I
I
do
saw
too,
when I
love
saw her the
Anthony.
other day, and
Thank you so much.
we were walking out, and she was like, have you seen my podcast?" And I was like, "I heard about it." She's like, "I'm doing something on grieving. What do you need? What do you?" I was like,
Yeah.
"I'll
I'm
be there."
so thankful. Yes.
No, but it's huge because you know what, men, let's
They
be
don't-
honest.
Yeah, they don't want to show their emotions or
And so I think that's really cool that you
I've-
came.
Thank you. I've got a
I do.
couple
I
of
think that's
friends
the
awesome.
best.
that
I've always loved him. Hmm.
they're kind of like my brothers. We all grew up together. We speak a lot. Before we get off the phone,
Mhm.
we have no problem telling each other we love you.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love you. And because you never know, you hang up that phone and you're just taking it for granted that,
You're going to see him again or talk to him
Closer
again.
to the mic.
and you're not. You're not. And so, yeah.
Thank
Well,
you,
just like we
Solomon.
do. So what do we say to each other?
I love you to the moon
I
and
love you
back.
to the moon and back.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
even have a
'Cause
little
you never
charm.
know.
Charm, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I tell everyone, like, I love you because it's true. You
Mhm.
never know, and it's like my dad didn't say, I love you. I said, Dad, I love you. Oh, okay. Dad.
Different time. Yes.
That
You
was
know,
the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He
I
could
think
say
it was that generation.
Yes.
Yes.
But he
Yes.
showed it. He showed it how hard he worked.
No, yeah.
Never said no,
Yeah.
That was the best part.
He did take care of you
Yes,
guys.
yes, he did. But, I want to thank you guys all so much for being here. Can you believe it's like already been an hour?
Wow.
No, it
No,
went
Thank you.
fast.
fast.
Fast,
Thank you
right?
for having me.
Thank you for having
Yes,
us.
it was such a pleasure. And we're dedicating this session to our parents.
Yes.
Yay.
May they be with us always in spirit. And I love you guys so much.
Love you
Thank
too.
guys. Thank you all. Can we get a little group hug here?
Yay.
Thank you
Yo,
guys.
come on.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed our episode. And if you are grieving, just know that there is help. Please reach out to someone, any of us,
Mhm.
someone close to you. You don't have to go through it on your own. And thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Bye. That's all for today. Thank you for watching and listening. It truly means the world to me. If you enjoy the show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe at Let Loose with Lou on Instagram, YouTube, and Spotify.